Hey, welcome to a new episode of Podcast with Abhash. As you know, in this web series, we talk with different amazing guests and hear their amazing stories. And if you're new to the channel, we please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. All the informations are going to be in the description below. So for today's guest, she's a wonderful friend of mine. She has traveled more than 50 different countries in different continents. So we'll be here talking about her stories and let's see what kind of message we can receive. We have Jyotika Sama. Welcome to my show, Jyotika.
Hi,
Hello, Jyotika. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
All good. You got all of you ready with the comfy cushion couch. Look, what kind of couch is that? What do you call those couch?
It's called the Papasan couch.
Wait, proportion?
Yes, it's called Papasan couch, and I always had it. Like everywhere I go, like every place I moved, I always buy this. It's so comfortable. You can actually dig in yourself. Get a
Oh my
little
God.
couch for
We
you.
used to have literally have those kind of couch. I would did not know the name, but in my old apartment. And basically we was like us guys used to play like Call of Duty all the time and just be like, Call of Duty chair, like everybody's that's my spot chair. Like most lazy chair. That's
It
just
is
man.
very comfortable. It's actually very comfortable. I can actually like sit here and fall asleep
Oh
if
my
I have to.
that's awesome.
But it's like where I like to sit and read a book and have a coffee and maybe do a podcast.
Oh, thank you. So, well, basically, I introduced you as a person who have traveled more than 50 countries. So let me
It's
get the
not
number right.
50. Let me get it
Let,
clear. I
let
don't
me
want to
get let
lie. It's not 50.
yeah, you
Yes.
go ahead with
Yes.
the yet. Okay, go ahead. Like, how
Yes.
many countries have you traveled?
I'm at number 47 right
Oh, just forget about like just pull it over to 50. You're almost 50, like around
almost
50.
50. Yes, almost 50, but I haven't reached 50 yet. So I don't want to like lie to people. But I'm at 47 and my goal was to go 50 this year. But unfortunately, for whatever that's happening right now, but I will try. I will try to at least go 50 this year.
Oh my God. So I can't even name more than 10, like 10, 15 countries. You have traveled to 50 different countries. And
Yeah.
I will not ask you to name those names, but like, at least how many different continents have you traveled? Is anyone missing?
Of course, I'm missing Australia and Antarctica. So like five, I guess. I was planning to go to Australia this year and then Antarctica maybe next year. But I know for the fact that to go to Antarctica, like you have to be a part of some kind of research expedition. Unless now, I've heard that they've started like taking tourists now. But it's very, 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 very expensive. So I don't know. Maybe next year after I
Antarctica.
go to Australia.
If you want to go to, I've seen video of Antarctica. It's basically snow, snow, snow,
Yeah.
snow. So go like from my experience, just go to Minnesota. You might say like this is Antarctica. That's pretty much it.
I don't know. And actually the funny thing is, I actually hate cold weather really bad, and I always travel like whenever I'm traveling, I'm either traveling like in the summer or like spring or fall, but never in winter because I just can't stand cold weather.
Oh,
So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go to Antarctica, then I just want to be there for like a week or so because I'm not like a big fan of snow and I don't know. I mean, like I like mountains, but like I'm not like really keen on being there for like a couple of weeks, but I did research on it, and now they're saying that they're taking tourists. So, not like a tourist, like any kind of tourist, but
mhm.
like you have to be part of some kind of research group or some kind of volunteer work or something, and you can go there. But it's kind of cool, like to go to Antarctica.
Yeah,
Like I don't know,
almost.
it just sounds cool.
Oh, that would be the coolest. Like I've known about like Antarctica. Antarctica, basically, I don't know if they have the land mass, but most of it is made out of ice. But I'm not quite sure it's the entirety of it or some part of it. But there's a lot of ice mass that's basically like it's always moving. So they have a lot of research about like where you can actually be and which part is getting like under the water or coming out of the water. So they have like lots of huge, I guess, North Pole kind of thing, like a research going on. But I don't.
Yeah.
I always thought that tourists can easily go there.
No, actually, whoever is actually in Antarctica right now, I'm guessing 95% is part of some kind of research group.
Hmm.
Like I don't unless there's like a couple of locals, which is I don't think it's possible. is mostly only people that are allowed to be in Antarctica is either you have to be part of some kind of research or scientific projects going on, or but not like you can't really go
Okay.
just to like visit Antarctica. You have to be part of some kind of research group, and that's what I know. But like I said, lately they've been kind of like a little open. But then again, you have to be a part of some kind of group, or if they're taking tourists, they're taking like in a bunch, like in a smaller groups, and it's like I said, it's very expensive. So yeah, it would be cool. It is on one of my bucket list, and I'm not sure when I'm gonna do it, but I definitely want to go to Australia first,
Okay.
and then maybe kind of like experience it, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe Antarctica, but I'm not like super
But
like
okay,
ready to go there right now.
so like of all the countries, like Australia, basically country continent. So Australia is something like one of the main one you're missing out. But
Yeah.
do you plan out like, oh, I'm gonna go this or that, like prehands, like let's say like pre-plan it out from like way before, or something you just plan out like maybe I should go to
Mm,
that country.
well, it's 50-50. So sometimes, well, if it's the beginning of the year, I'm like, okay, well, I might go here and there and kind of do like a little research, and some I just do impulsively. I really don't think about it. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I have a couple of days off, and I just look at the tickets, and if they're like around my budget, I'm like, I'm just gonna go. But most majority of the time I do pre-plan it. If I'm going more than 5 or 6 countries at a time, then I kind of pre-plan it. But if I'm going like less than 2 or 3 countries, it's mostly random. Like I just go like see what's available, or what's the weather like, and what's the time frame when I'm going. Is it going to be, what kind of weather is there, or how much am I spending? So yeah, I guess I would say 50-50. Like for a longer period of time I plan, but if it's like a shorter span, if I'm going for 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks, then I just kind of like randomly and
Yeah,
impulsively
just
buy
like
tickets.
just by hearing you say like I'm gonna go 5 countries, this country, and like, I'm like I'm just thinking like I'm scared to just get out of one country. Like what if I get lost in the other country? Like
Oh my god.
you're just
It
making up like
happens.
I go in 5 countries, and just hearing you talk kind of gives me a goosebump. It's just like how okay.
Well, I don't want to burst your bubble, but you are gonna get lost. It is very, very common, and I cannot count how many times I've got lost in countries randomly. And sometimes it's so scary because it's like, there are countries that I've been where I'm not familiar with their language at all, and people that live there don't speak a lot of English. So, or like sometimes I want buy a data for my phone, and I don't have any Google Maps, so I have to kind of randomly go to a cafe to find Wi-Fi to just make sure I can go back to my hostel or my hotel. But if you're planning to travel by yourself, you are gonna get lost. But it's fun. I think it's a part of the experience. Like it's like going to a theme park and just getting on a random ride, and it's fun.
So easy for you to say. So tell me like as you said, you have traveled in so many different countries, and for you it feels such a common thing. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get my passport, and I'm just getting scared like for just like moving to another country, you're just like, oh, should I send my passport for visa verification, or should I, like, there's every countries have their own rules and
Yes,
regulations, right? And you have to be
yes.
prepared, and you, like like just tell me like when did you start like the whole traveling gig for you?
Um, I started traveling when I was 24 or 25. I think couple of like 4 years ago.
Okay.
So I've always wanted to travel, and it was just like, even when I was like not being able to travel out of state, I always liked going like to different weird places, whether it's a haunted house or a museum or like a theme park or just like hiking. And I would always make plans with friends. My friends like, oh, we should go here, we should go there. And it never happened. It never happened because at that end moment, somebody backs out, or they don't have enough budget, or somebody's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going through some stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like, I thought for myself, if I'm gonna wait for someone to travel with me, that is never gonna happen. And it was very scary because, like, I mean, I've never traveled alone either. I mean, I've traveled alone within USA. Like when I was like 19, I went to New York by myself. I just wanted to go kind of like I've done that, but I've never gone out of country. So I think it was around March of 2006 or 15. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. Like, I cannot wait for anybody. Like, if I screw this up, I screw this up. I will live with that. But I gotta go. So I just bought a ticket to London. Um, and I, in my mind, had a certain plan that I'm gonna go from London to Paris, and from there I'm gonna go to Switzerland, but I didn't really have like a serious plan.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, how am I gonna do it? Like, I mean, I don't know anybody. So I was like, okay, well, I can kind of maneuver my way through Paris because a lot of people English, speak English over there. So then I was like, okay, well, I gotta go to Switzerland after that. So I kind of like went through all the travel groups and
Mhm.
like blogs, and I kind of started reading about people, how they did it, and then like I kind of followed a couple of their routes. And I found that in Europe that there is a lot of bus services that takes you from one country to another country. It's much easier than in like
Mhm.
USA, because just because their countries are smaller and their borders are kind of open. So I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna see how far I can reach, and I'll see if I can find local guides. I'll try to stay in hostels. So I don't think I had like a specific plan. I just knew that I was gonna do this after this after this, but there was not like a rigid plan.
Oh my God.
So
This.
yeah, I just went, and there was a time I had a friend who used to live in London or something, and he said, okay, if you're gonna be in London, I have a friend, he can show you around, and then after that, like if you're gonna go to Paris, you're gonna go to Paris. So first day I go to London, and my friend's friend, he kind of showed me around, and then from there I took a ferry to Paris, and then
Mhm.
after that I was kind of on my own. And you meet people at hostels, and I don't know, I mean,
Oh
it
my
worked out
God.
for me.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
basically started your whole traveling gig, like traveling motivation, because of your lazy friends. Who are lazy friends are people who
I don't know
did
if it's my
did.
lazy friend, but I really, as a child, I was kind of weird. I always was like interested in like history and architecture,
Mhm.
and a lot of my age group people would be watching cartoons. I was really into National Geographic, like
Oh, that,
like Cleopatra stories or Roman stories. And
oh, that's cool.
honestly, honest to God, I don't think, even sometimes, like I have to pinch myself when I go to a certain place. Like I'm like, seriously, like shit, am I here? But
Yeah. So
I mean,
you've
like,
been to all of those Cleopatra, like you've
yes,
been to
I
Egypt,
have, and
and okay, just
it's
okay, okay,
crazy.
I'm just gonna challenge you. Like, try to name all of the countries that you visited, like just out of your head. Let's see.
Okay, so obviously, I mean, England, right? Ireland, Scotland, France, Switzerland, Albania, Andorra, Croatia, Spain, Lisboa. I mean, Portugal. Sorry, I said Lisboa, capital city. Portugal. Oh my God. South Africa, Swaziland, Egypt, Greece, Bosnia and Herzegovina, uh, Serbia, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Lithuania, Latvia, Belgium, um, Finland, Sweden, Denmark. Oh my God. How many did I name already? Uh, wow. Thailand, Cambodia, uh, Vietnam, mm, Wales. Mm, wow, I'm running
I know
out
a
of my
couple
head
you have
right now.
visited that you have not even said.
Vatican City, um, what am I called? Italy. Italy. Did I say Switzerland already? Switzerland, right? And I've been to Montenegro, which is actually a country too. So I don't know. I mean, God, it's damn. Now that I'm
Well,
counting it, it feels a lot.
well, you came from Nepal, and you are residing in,
Nepal. I mean, come on. That's
yeah, yeah, and you are residing here in the United States. So there's like additional two countries more.
yeah. I mean, that is just like.
And you probably
you know.
forgot, like you haven't, and I know for sure, that's not 47 in total. That's about 30. Or I don't know how much you said, but
Yeah, I forgot most of them. Sorry, I'm like trying to remember
for,
all
for,
of
for all
them.
the people that was like, that's too many countries. Like, how did you even go? Like, you have an Instagram page. Like, I'm gonna give the description below. But like, can you say what your Instagram page address is?
It's called Gypsy Nepali. It's at Gypsy Nepali. So
So in
yeah.
Instagram, follow Gypsy Nepali. Okay, tell me, like, why did you get that Gypsy Nepali name?
Um, I got that name because I somehow in my heart I feel like I'm a gypsy. That
What's
I
a gypsy?
feel. I mean, look, in many ways, gypsy can be termed like a lot of people say gypsy can be nomads because they move around so much. Some they say some of them are artists, some of them are, creative artists. So for me, gypsy means that someone that can go any place and feel like they belong. That's gypsy for me. That they can adjust. So every time I'm traveling, I never feel like I can't adjust over there. Like I kind of feel like I'm a part of that country. When I'm there for more than a day, I feel like I belong there. I don't feel like I'm different from the locals that live over there. Obviously, I mean, in a way I am different, but in my heart I feel like somehow I belong there, Like it doesn't feel weird to me saying that, oh, I'm in a very foreign country. After a day or two, I just kind of like get used to it and I'm like, oh, I feel like I live there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
you just love traveling, and I guess you love the culture. You love to see the people. Like every time, like I just said, you started with London, right? You started with
Yeah.
London for 5 years ago, and then till now. So did you basically plan out like every year, like I'm gonna visit this many countries, or
Uh,
do you go on a rampage, like I'm gonna go as many as you can go?
like a rampage. That's so
It's
funny you
like
said that.
right there, I want to go there. I
Um,
want to go there. All right. Do you plan out
yes,
like
I mean, like
annually?
I said, I do plan it out. Like, um, I don't know. I mean, it's so random though. I don't really say, okay, I want to go here. Like, if I see something in a picture or something, like, oh wow, it's a beautiful island. Oh, where's that at? And then I'm like, oh, I want to be there. And then it actually helps me know what country it's into. Every monument, like I wanted to go to Cambodia because I am obsessed with Angkor Wat, and I've watched like millions, like so many documentaries regarding that. And I was like, you know what? Wouldn't it be wonderful to just go in Angkor Wat and watch a beautiful sunrise over there? So that made me want to go to Cambodia. And when I went there, I knew so much more because for me, I went there for the monument. But when I was there, I lived there for 2 weeks. It was like wow, like I knew so much about the country, what their history was, how war torn it was. I saw the good side, the bad side, and the ugly side. So I don't really plan, but then I have like, okay, well, I want to be here. I want to see that. And then I kind of go from there, So like Paris, obviously Eiffel Tower, like everybody dreams of going to Eiffel Tower and taking a picture. So that started like that. But then I went to France and I went to the Bordeaux area. I went to Nice. So it was some of them were unplanned. It's like, okay, I'm going to go here. I went to the castle with their Chateau de Chambord. So some of them were just like unplanned and some
Mhm.
of them were sort of planned. So yeah, like I would say it's half and half. Like I said, I would plan like in the beginning of January, I say, okay, well, this year I want to see this, this, this. Maybe I'll say, okay, I want to see Tokyo this year and I want to see certain things in Tokyo.
And
But
how
then
long
I
do
would
you
go
usually
there.
stay in those kind of places? Like anytime you
Sorry?
plan, to go, say you planned out a bunch of countries, like 7, 8 different ones, and then do you invest like enough time? Like how many days do you usually plan out to go? This is because like a lot of the, say our viewers might be interested in going and traveling after the things calm down with the COVID, but if they plan
Yes,
out to travel,
after. Not right
so,
now.
once the things start to be a little normal and they want to travel someplace and they want to go and to say like as many as you would want, for you as a experienced traveler, how would you say, like how many days is good for a specific place, or do you want to stay more? Like what would you describe as an ideal time to be in one country?
It depends. So, if you're going to like a lot of European countries, which are much smaller, like Montenegro or Bosnia Herzegovina, you don't really need more than 2 days. There's not much out there to see. But if you're going to a bigger country, like for example France, let's say, you would want to at least stay there for a week, cannot go around everywhere you want to see. Or even England,
Mhm.
like you want to go parts of there. So it just depends on what country you're going and what are you trying to see. I went to Cambodia for almost a week, and I got to see like different part of the country, and mostly it was just beaches and stuff like that. But it just really depends on what you're trying to go there to see. Some people just want to go see one landmark, and then they're like, okay, well, that was it. But some people want to explore much. So it honestly depends on what you're trying to get, what kind of experience you're trying to get out of that country.
Yeah.
So for me, I like having a little bit of everything. I like a little bit of history, a little bit of architecture, a little bit of exploring different kind of food, cuisine, bar. So I try to at least spend 3 days in one city,
Mhm.
um, just so I can kind of like get to see a little bit of everything. But then there are times where I have to spend like 2 days. Like I think which country was that I spent only 2 days in there? I'm trying to think about it. Hmm.
You're just scanning through
think
all of the
Belgium.
countries.
I think
Belgium.
Belgium was like I just was there for a day or two because it's like literally there's not you go to the main Brussels and then it's just there's not much
Yeah, the bit.
going on. So if you're gonna go to Switzerland, you
Mhm.
probably want to spend like a week or so because there's so many parts of Switzerland you wanna go. So yeah, like Albania, like Tirana, like there's not much to see. Like a day and a half would be enough. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it all depends on you. But if you're going to like a major big country, then like try to invest 3 to 4 days and kind of like pre-plan yourself. If you're not an experienced traveler like me and you're new, it's better you do your research very, very well. Lot of travelers have problem with the budget,
Mhm.
so it's better you like plan your budget very well and like how you want to spend your money and how you want to spend your day. I've had more fun when my days were more planned. Even though I like to make a lot of impulsive decisions, I kind of enjoyed my experience more when I actually had planned, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I had more fun because I felt like, okay, well, everything is under kind of like my control. I have my budget all set up and everything. But yeah, spend like have, make a plan, obviously, and try to see what you're trying to get out of a certain country. Like, for example,
Mhm.
let's say you go to Paris. A lot of people would spend like 2, 3 days over there. Um, a day for Eiffel Tower, then they go to the Louvre Museum, which is almost a day and a half. So like you got to research. Like, if you really want to get like the Louvre experience, the museum, you have to spend at least a day just for the museum. So your day is just gone.
Mhm.
Then the next day you're like, okay, well, I want to see Eiffel Tower. I want to see like other buildings out there. I want to go to a cafe. I want to see the Moulin Rouge show. So plan.
Oh,
It's
you.
better you
Yeah,
plan.
you basically went. I kind of see your trend. You have a really keen interest on museums and so on. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, I love museums. I know for the fact that I have visited more museums than anything else. And I know for the fact that in London, I went more to museums than anything else because most of them were free. And I was like, oh yeah,
for a lot of history and people enthusiasts, museums are places where it is actually is. Those are preservations of history, and you go
Yes.
to an actual place and try to enjoy their culture, and as well as get a information on or the knowledge of their like history. That would be ultimate your goal. I kind of know you a lot more now because as a
Yeah, I do
person.
love museums a lot, and maybe I'm being biased for everything else. Like everybody has different interests. But I love museums. I love antique stuff. Anything antique. I love weapons. And not like I'm not violent at all, but I'm just saying I love all the weapons and
Mhm.
the way it was designed. And every time I go to any museums, I'm always looking for like different kind of weapons that were used, from the long, long part of the
Uh-huh.
history and how it has evolved through it. So I'm very keen on that. I don't know. I mean, I just my interest. Um, and every time I'm going to a museum, it's so I don't know. I just love museum. Like I feel like everybody who travels
Mhm.
to any country must have some time to visit a museum. It's like soaking up the history of that country. Like it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just like
tell me
it.
about the way you jump from one country to another. gives me anxiety right now. It's like, how in the world are you able to travel, communicate with people, get to know, like, okay, this is the public transportation or taxi, whatever you can
Oh,
take. Like, how do you plan for it, or at least how do you mentally prepare for it, especially for
okay.
transportations?
Here's the reality. I don't. I have literally like I feel like crying sometimes because I think in my head I'm confident that I'll be doing it. But when I'm there, I'm like, oh shit, I'm lost. Like help me, you know. So yeah, it's really tough. And I honestly I do have anxiety. Like I know people are like, oh my god, you're like experienced traveler, you're not scared. I'm scared too. I feel the fear inside me too.
Have you been
But then
lost
in my
before?
head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be okay, you know.
Yeah,
But
as you said, you've been lost before, but like, have you
oh my
really
god,
been lost?
yes, many times, many
Okay, many
many
times.
times.
Okay, tell me
Um,
okay, give me some good story here.
okay, so one was just a recent, um, and it was such one of the most beautiful experience of my life. I went to Lithuania and I took a bus. So there was another big story over there. I my Russian visa got denied, which another story. So, anyways, I somehow was like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna go to Russia now. I'm just gonna take a bus and I'm gonna go to Lithuania. So I got a bus to Lithuania to Vilnius, and one of the mistakes I made was I didn't get a mobile data for myself, which now I'm never gonna do that. I'm gonna make sure I have a data in my phone. So I went to Vilnius. So I was at this bus stop, and the bus that actually one of the good things about the Eastern European countries, they have such an amazing bus, like for real, like it's like recliner seats, TV, and all that stuff, you know. So
Yeah, I
I
can
was
spend a
like, they
whole
have
day
the
in that
Wi-Fi in
bus.
there. Yeah, their bus is amazing. So if you ever go to Lithuania, Latvia, or Estonia, take the buses. They are freaking amazing, and they're so cheap. So long story short, I was in Vilnius
Mhm.
and I had no data, you know. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna use the bus Wi-Fi, and I called Uber. Thank God there was an Uber. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a bus. So in Vilnius, I was staying at this camp, like a really hippy dippy camp, because I was like, you know, why not? You know, I mean, when am I gonna do that? So I booked this camp through online through booking.com, and so I had to take a cab from there. And this camp where I was gonna be staying, this hostel camp was like up in a mountain. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna call the Uber. The Uber driver, he did not speak any English, like zero English, right?
Okay.
So I put the address, and then obviously, like I was off the bus, so the Wi-Fi was gone. And then he literally drops me in the middle of nowhere, and he's like taking off my luggage, and I'm like, wait, like, where's my hostel? And he's like, and I was like, this place is not this. And he's
Oh, I'm
like,
sweating here. I'm
he's
sweating here.
confused, you know?
Like,
And I was
he
like,
dropped you off in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, like in the city, like that. I'm obviously I've never been to this country, so it was like basically middle of nowhere. So basically, it was like there was like a two-way street, and I saw like a barber shop in there, but that was it. Like it was like dead. Like the street was dead. There was no people, nothing going on. You know, like I couldn't go to a shop or call someone, and he just dropped me over there, and I was like, well, like I was like, this is not this, and he's like,
And you travel alone. You travel
yes,
alone, I
I was
think.
traveling alone, and so now I have no phone. I have no data on my phone. I cannot know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at. I just like he just dropped me in the middle of the street that I've never been to. I don't know where my camp is at, and he just dropped my luggage off. And I'm like trying to tell him like, look, this is not the place, because I know for the fact my camp is somewhere in the mountain because of the pictures of the
Uh-huh.
booking.com and I see, and I had no data to call. So I'm trying to see if there's any shops around me that I can kind of like go. Nothing. And I was like, oh my god, like seriously, like this is. And then he just goes into the car and he's about to leave. I was like, okay, I cannot let him leave. So I was like, okay, so let me think, what can I do? So I see this barber shop over there,
Mhm.
and there's this big dude with all the hats off. I was like, oh my god, like, okay, I'm gonna go speak to him. And I was like, excuse me.
I can see a
And I
movie
showed him my
scenario
phone.
here.
I was like, this cap over here. And he's like, he just looks at me top to bottom. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, like, what will I do if he like tries to choke me or something? Like, I had zero self-defense skill right now. I was like, thank God I have some keys in my bag. I can just like jab him or something. And he's like, he just comes out and he's like, this is not where you're supposed to be. So he spoke some English. And he says like broken was like, this is not the place. And
Mhm.
then the driver was, I'm not sure he was speaking Russian, but I know for the fact he was not Russian, but he spoke like some kind of Russian dialect.
Mhm.
So he was trying to communicate with the driver, but the driver was like, look, he didn't know what the hell was going on. So he just like bounced. As soon as I turned my back on him, he just left.
Holy
And
shit.
I'm like in middle of nowhere with no phone data, no idea, no speaking. Like there was nobody, literally nobody over there. So this guy, I was like, look, I really need, like, I need to go here. So finally he goes to the barber shop inside, and there are a couple of guys comes out. It's all guys, and they have like cats all over. They're like huge guys. I was like, oh my god, like I was so scared. I didn't even know what to do and what to say. And this one guy spoke English. And he was like, look, this is not where you need to be. And I was like, what? Like, I told the Uber driver, but he left. And he's like, look, if you're going to walk from here, it's going to be about 40 minutes. I was like, you see my luggage over there? I can go up to the mountain like 40 minutes. I said, is there a bus over here? He's like, no. He said, this is very away from the main city. So you have to kind of like make your way through. And I was like, oh my God, like seriously, this is the worst day of my life. Like, I don't know what to do. So I just sat there like for a couple of minutes. And then he came back again and he was like, like, I know it's very weird, it's a foreign country and I'm not trying to like come and say anything to you, but I actually can drop you over there. I have a car with me and I live very close by. And I was like,
Okay.
so I trust this random guy that I've just met in a barber shop in the middle of nowhere to take me to my hostel.
Oh my god.
And I was like, well, first of all, I was like, he's like, and he was very like nice about it. He was like, if you are okay with it, he went like that. And I was like, well, I said, is there any Wi-Fi over here? He's like, no. And I was like, there's no way. Like, there's no way I can go anywhere without the Wi-Fi. And I don't know. I just thought about it for 10 minutes, and I said, look, there's gonna be two things that's gonna happen. Either he's gonna take me to my hostel, or he's gonna kill me. So I chose to go with it.
Oh my god.
And it was so nerve-wracking because as soon as I sat in his car, like, I don't know, like I couldn't think of anything. I didn't know if he was gonna drop me because I don't know the roads. I don't know nothing. I have no data. But I said, you know what, Jody, you have done some crazy stuff more than this. You'll be fine. And if he try to kill you, well, you've got your keys. Try to jab him and run and call for help.
Oh my
So
god. You're giving me anxiety right now.
I know it
I'm,
was
I'm
so
like
scary. I was
putting the image visually, and I'm just like putting like myself like in your place. I'm like, okay, if I'm a guy, but if I'm in that situation, I'm just like, mom.
But
That
but
would
I
be
had
my.
no choice though. Like it was 6 o'clock in the evening because the bus was delayed. If it was in the morning, I could have kind of figured out a way. It was 6 o'clock in the evening. It was getting late. It was getting darker. I was in the middle of nowhere. I had no data on my phone. There was no shop, and that was like I think the most difficult part was there was nothing where he dropped me. It was literally one barber shop over there, and it was a two-way street, and it was more like a residential area,
That's a.
and I didn't want to be like randomly walking
That's
on
like an
people's door.
asshole Uber driver.
He spoke zero English. I think he spoke Prussian or something. And he like as soon as I was speaking with the guy in the barber shop, he just bounced, and I was like, I mean, I was like, what am I gonna do with this? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna trust him. So we sat in the car, and then he finally started having conversation with me, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll feel comfortable when he started talking. And he's like, he's like, oh, where do you come from? And I was like, from USA. And then he's like, we're such a small country, Lithuania. And I'm really grateful that you came and visited our country. And I was like, trying not to make it awkward. I said, hey, what should I eat over here? So he dropped me to my hostel, and I was like,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Lifesaver.
Because I did not expect that.
First of all, so many things wrong with it. Like, but how you planned it out? How come you booked a hotel that's in the middle of nowhere, which is surrounded by
It was
tattooed
a camp.
barbers?
It was a camp, So every time I try to like stay in different accommodation to kind of like experience different things. So Vilnius is pretty much like a capital, capital city of Lithuania, and it's very hippie. It has its own charm. And when I saw this camp, I was like, you know what? I have to stay in this camp. Because it's like really hippie dippy camp in the middle of nowhere, like brings that 70s hippie vibe. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And I wanted to be near more nature because I was just going from city to city to city. It was like all buildings, 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 and I was like, no, 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 I want to do something
Oh my
different.
God.
So I was like, okay, and it got really good reviews. So I was like, okay, but I didn't know that it was like literally in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, I didn't know that, because I just took the Uber and that was my plan. But as soon as there was no data, I was like, what am I going to do? But all is safe. He dropped me
You
very
know,
safely.
you just
And
reminded.
I said, thank you so much. I'm
Good.
so grateful. Your country is awesome. Your people are awesome. And I feel very bad because I judge people just because they're tats and they look really huge. I was scared.
It just
So even me,
you
but
put you put yourself to place where you gotta judge people. If you don't judge people, if you don't judge a situation, you you gotta be able to do that. That's for anybody, guys or girls, like being someplace without being able to communicate first of all, and without your security, with your little key, which I don't know if you have ever used it to punch somebody. Not very
never.
effective.
And I'm a very tiny girl too. And that was the one thing I was scared was because I'm pretty tiny.
See,
And
see, have you seen the movie Taken with
people keep
Liam
telling me about
Neeson?
that too.
So he would be afraid to have you as his daughter because he's like, "Where are you?" In
I
London, it took
know.
forever to find his daughter. So if you get lost in
I know.
Lithuania, that's a oh my god, you
But then again, like, yes, there are traveling doesn't guarantee you that it's going to be always safe 100%. So obviously make your plans. I mean initially I did make a plan. I was going to take a Uber and then I was kind of like going to go, but I don't know why, like, I didn't buy a data plan that time. And I kind of, like, that's what I learned from my mistakes too.
so
When I first
buy a
started.
data plan for all the travelers. Is that for every country?
Yes,
Is there is
data
there
plan is very important
so
because
data
if you
plan?
get lost, you have a GPS on your phone, then you can find everything accessible near you. But I've done that. I've never had data plan. So for me, it was normal. But then I should have realized, okay, well, that's also ignorance because I was like, oh, well, they're probably going to speak English. But you have to realize that not everybody speaks English. So I learned too, like every time I travel, I'm learning something that I didn't know too. So that's like the cool part. And I'm glad that I was like, he dropped me safely and I was so grateful to him. And I even like gave him a big shout out on my Facebook page because I thought it was awesome that he actually gave me a ride. And he dropped
Yeah,
me
there.
safely, and I really felt like welcomed in their country, and that's why Vilnius holds such a special place in my heart because I know a lot of people don't even know where Lithuania is, and I would always say go to Lithuania because the people are so nice in Lithuania, like
Uh,
genuinely so nice and so helpful. Like I didn't feel that vibe in Estonia or in Latvia. But in Lithuania, it's just something else. Like I can imagine myself living over there. It was just awesome. Like I really had a good time over there. It
yeah.
was very, very fun people and very genuinely very kind hearted and nice people.
As you said, you during our conversation, you said like this is even the worst thing you have been in, Jyotika. You pointed out to yourself. What is the worst thing you've done, like in travel?
Oh my God. The worst thing I've been is when I was in Egypt, I got stuck in Sahara Desert and
What?
there were some
Say that
military
slowly.
people.
You were in
So
Egypt.
no, I don't want to tell this story because this is so insane. I just don't want to go
Go
there.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But this is like I think I'm not gonna go super detailed on that
Okay.
story because I got stuck in Sahara Desert, and yeah, we got. Then
Woman.
I went to the Ramses III. That's an Abu Simbel temple,
Mhm.
and they had like the sandstorm going on, and I think there was 3 tourist bus that went that day, and Abu Simbel is not considered safe because I think around 1990 or 1991 there was a big some kind of
Revolution
fire thing going on
or
between the tourists and then the local. I don't know the real story, but that's what I heard. And so whenever you go to Abu Simbel temple, there's always like a tank, like a military tank. A lot of military officials that kind of like escort you. Like so, if there's like 5 tourist buses, so there's a big tank in the front, and there's like the police that from the
okay. The
Egypt
tourism, at
government.
least in Egypt, doesn't feel that safe. Go ahead. Go ahead with your story.
Anyways, yeah, so I got stuck in sandstorm and I thought I was gonna die, but I didn't, and I made it back here. But I would like to say that I would just go to a small part of that story, but I felt really like humble. Is like
Okay,
usually
I'm
beautiful
gonna
people
dig.
that do.
I'm gonna dig into it. Like you just casually went through. I went to Sahara Desert. I was stuck in snowstorm, and I thought I would die, and I'm not.
No, no,
You can't
no,
just
no, no.
skip that.
Okay,
Okay, tell me
so
what happened.
okay, so I'm gonna go to the part where I felt like this is it. Okay, so we there was a so I went on a tourist bus. So I joined a local guide group.
Uh-huh.
So that the guide was taking one, two, three, six of us to Abu Simbel. And the six of us were in a bigger tourist bus, because
Mhm.
all of them were going to the Abu Simbel temple. And we reached there, and then we saw the temples, obviously, and there was a big sandstorm going on over there. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. The temple was amazing. So while we're trying to come back, the news said that there was a big sandstorm going on and nobody can go back right now. So we have to stop over there. So I was like, okay, well, cool, whatever. So we were just like relaxing. And mind you, it was 103 degrees out there in Egypt. It was that hot.
Wow.
And after a while, the
Mhm.
bus driver turns off the AC because they don't have gas anymore and we're in the middle of nowhere. So there's no gas station close by. And an hour goes by, 2 hour goes by, 3 hours goes by, 4 hour goes by. After the fifth hour, people are tired. There's no shops, so you can get some drinks. There was like a little local shop outside of the temple,
Uh-huh.
and imagine there's 300 tourists
300
stuck
tourists
in
stuck there because of the sandstorm,
sandstorm.
and
Yes,
with your AC off in 103 degrees.
yes. And they were mostly like older people, like the old
Uh-huh.
couple in different buses. And I mean, every bus has had their own kind of like a little group. So we were mixed. So my local guide had six of us, and then we were mixed with the other group. So after the fifth hour, everybody started getting thirsty. Like there was no AC on. People were panicking.
Uh-huh.
So there was they were speaking in their language. They were speaking Arabic between the driver and the guards because they didn't know what to do with us. And the Egyptian government was like, we're not going to take responsibility of this 300 people if you guys are going to drive through the sandstorm. Because according to that time, they were saying that the looters, like the I don't know, the people that like
Sand
start
thieves
like
or
the
whatever.
looters that comes and like robs people,
Uh-huh.
they normally come during the sandstorm because it's very hard to see them. So we were like, okay, so I mean, I wasn't scared. I was like, what are you gonna take? I don't have
You
nothing.
weren't scared. What are you scared of? I'm just
Right.
getting
And
scared to
I'm just
listening
saying,
to
like, there's
you.
nothing they're gonna rob me of. Like, I have a backpack, take my phone. Like, I'm not scared. But I mean, there are older couples, probably they have like jewelries or something like that. I mean, I look like a raggy taggy hippie, so what are they gonna take away from me?
Just
So
take your phone away, and you're like, I'm not even data right now. Just you don't even have a phone. Then think of yourself.
I mean, like I don't know. It was so hot. It didn't bother me. I just wanted to get away from there because it was like 103 degrees, And I wanted to go to a bathroom because I drank all that water and there was no bathroom. Like I had other concern before the
Go ahead. Go
before the
ahead.
looters, obviously, So I was like,
Okay.
okay, like whatever. So then after the sixth hour, I was like told that my local guy, his name was Mohammed. I was like, look, Mohammed, I need to go to the bathroom, like really, really bad. I'm really, really hot, like,
Okay.
and I already had an accident, like, I already told him, look, I have to pee, and there's no bathroom over here, so I don't know what to do. So he's like, so he started speaking with the local guys. So what they did was like they took all of us, like 300 of us, like
Mhm.
mine 300, including not including, I don't know if it was including drivers. So they take us this closest deserted hotel that has nobody in there because that time it was like off season because it's
Okay.
so hot, nobody's traveling, right? And they dropped us over there. And like all the tourists like trying to go to the bathroom, there was a little swimming
Yeah.
pool over there. Everybody's trying to chill off. And I was so hot. I was like, you know what? Like I don't even know what to say, what to think. And then I see people just drop by. They're like passing, like people are just passing out everywhere. And I'm so scared. We're no doctors. Like I was like, oh Lord, like
Oh,
please let me
so
do anything, but don't let me pass out. So it was like 7 o'clock, I think 6:30 in the evening already, and we have no signs of nothing. We are hungry, we're tired, we're running out of the water bottles. There's 300 of us. The hotel had zero, they had like five staff, and they were so overwhelmed when they saw 300 people coming inside a hotel that was like had no staff. Like literally, there was a front person, there was a bell guy, and then there was this one another guy. That was it. So I don't know what happened. I think I passed out for a couple of hours.
You slept in your
Um,
room?
I don't know. I don't know
Oh
what
my
happened to me.
God.
I was sitting in the sofa and I don't know what happened to me. I don't know if it was the heat. I don't know if I passed out. So this old lady takes a stick and starts poking at me.
Oh my God, woman.
I was like, I just looked at her. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I just wanted to make sure you're alive, sweetie. I was like,
Oh,
so she was so scared because she said, you've been gone for like an hour and a half. I was like, really? And I said, I'm not sure. She's like, do you want some water? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I think it's the heat. Maybe I just passed out for a
like
little bit.
you
She
just
was so
passed
scared.
out. It's maybe the heat, and lady is offering water, and you said no.
No, because I wasn't thirsty. Like,
You
I
are
mean,
arrogant.
I wasn't thirsty. I don't know why she was poking a stick at me. Maybe she thought I was dead or something. Because she was like, "Oh, you weren't even moving for like 1.5 hours," and I was like, "Oh no, no." I mean, look, we're in this situation. Like, what am I going to say? Like, I just didn't have nothing to say. So it was like around 7:30, and I think this is also why Egypt is so special for me. So there were 300 of us,
Mhm.
and my local guide Mohammed told me around 7:30 we sat in a dining hall, and there's a local village close by to the hotel. Can you imagine they made food for 300 people with chicken? Can you imagine how many chicken they had to cut to feed 300 people? They fed us like the local villagers. They cooked food for us for 300 guests,
Okay, that's awesome.
and we ate, and it was so heart touching because I did have a couple of bad experiences in Egypt. Yes, it is not safe, and it's very, for female travelers, it is kind of difficult because you do get catcalled, and just the society there is very different. It's not very modern, but it's so amazing that this local villagers, they gathered what they had and they fed us.
Oh,
I'm not sure if the local guys paid something to them. We wanted to pay. I wanted to pay, but I didn't know who to give it to. And then we got enough to eat. Around 8:39, the sandstorm cleared up, and then we went back, and it was crazy. Like, it's so wild. Like, sometimes when I think about it, I was like, did I really like get stuck in a sandstorm? Like, it's very hard to believe. But then again, like, you come out of the experience feeling so humbled and so grateful, and
yeah, yeah,
no
yeah.
matter what goes out in the world.
You will be humbled when you wake up by an old lady poking you if you're checking if you're
I
alive.
swear to God, she was poking this thing so hard. I'm like, what the hell? Oh my God. Because she
Oh,
saw I was by myself. So I think I was sitting in this couch, and I think I just like laid my head on the back of the couch, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I fell asleep or if I just like passed out. I'm not quite sure what happened to me. I mean, I was alive, but she's like, "Oh, you were all by yourself. Are you traveling alone?" Like, oh my God, like, and she was asking all these questions, and I was like, "No, I'm fine."
first of
And
all,
she was an English lady. She
uh,
was very sweet. She came with her husband, and she was like, "My husband is having such a hard time," and we had a little chit chat. But I mean, that was nice of her to check on me. I felt like I was scared and wanted in this world by someone.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
First, okay, let me clear. So you basically you went up with 300 tourists. So they took you from your
Oh,
destination.
and then, oh yeah, actually, I didn't tell you the main story. So yeah, what happened was we were going and traveling, like I said, and then there was a military tank in the front, and then the military tank in the back.
Uh-huh.
So I had to really pee, and that's an issue for me all the time because I drink a lot of coffee, right?
Yeah.
And nobody told me. No, not my driver. He did tell me that we're going on like a 4-hour bus ride, but of course I had to drink my morning coffee. I didn't know that they were not going to stop for a bathroom break. So I had to pee. And I was like, okay, like, and the road is like, just like in Nepal, it's like bumpy. It's not
Bumpy.
like a smooth ride. Can you imagine wanting to pee and be on a bumpy road? Like, how difficult is that? Like, I understood the value of a smooth road that time because I really had to pee. And I went to my local guy.
Oh
I
my
said, look,
God,
I
your poor
really have to
brother.
pee. Yeah, he's like, well, he looks at me straight in my face like, Jody, we're in the middle of Sahara Desert. I was like, yeah, but I have to pee. Like, I can't hold my pee. Like, I have to pee. So he's like, okay, 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 okay. And he's like, okay, well, hold on, I'll figure out something. So we were driving by. So there was a bus ahead of us, and then we were in the middle, and there was a bus behind us. Okay, so Muhammad stops the bus in the middle of Sahara Desert. Okay, like the one that you
There's
see
your
in Wild
bathroom.
Wild West, like
There's your
nothing out
bathroom.
there. There was no bathroom, and this is what he said. He's like, you can go and pee. And I look outside, there's nothing, just the sand,
That's what I
all open
expected.
field. And I look at him, like, Mohammed, where do you want me to pee? He's like, oh, there's a small rock over there. You can go behind that. I was like, Mohammed, like, it's not I'm the only one in the bus. There's a bus in front of me and bus in back of me. If this bus stop and I go out to pee, people are gonna stare and they can see me pee, you know? And he's like, Jody, this is the only way I can stop. I was like, you know what? At that moment, I had to pee so hard. I said, screw this. I'm gonna go pee. If people are gonna see me pee, I'm okay with that. I'm in a foreign country. Nobody knows me. Screw this. So I literally went out in the desert, and I was trying to go as far as away from the bus, but no matter how far I went, the bus people could see me. I was like, you know what? After a point, I found this stone, like this, like a little rock-looking thing. It was big enough to cover me. I was like, you know what? I have to pee. I'm gonna go pee right now. So I was peeing, obviously, right? And I was like, oh, I gotta find it. I get up. As soon as I get up, after I pee, I see like this military guy, like with their guns coming at me, and I see like the tank has stopped, all the bus has stopped. I was like, am I getting killed right now? Because I don't know what's going on. So I was like,
Get on
okay.
our sacred land.
I literally just peed, and I just got up from the rock, and like, cause okay, so our bus was in the middle, so I didn't know that they were gonna stop for us. I thought they were gonna, like go away, like they're gonna let us stop, and then the other bus would just pass us and go. No, they didn't. There was a tank in front of me that was stopped, a tank in the front back of me stopped, and this military guys that was coming at me, 4 of them, and I was like, oh my god, like seriously, is this how I die in the middle of Sahara Desert? I didn't know what was going on. So they're coming towards me, and I'm just like I just had nothing to say to them. And I just started walking. I was like, dude, like, what the hell is going on? And then they're like, all the buses are stopped. And the guy in the tank, he pops his head out from the where there's like a little area where you can come up from the tank. He's just popping out of there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I mean, because they did scare us during.
They probably never seen anybody pee in the desert.
No, I mean, they did scare us during the whole ride. That it is the area where there's like looters, the local looters trying to like rob tourists, and there's been like exchange of guns and stuff. Like it's been violent. That road is not very safe. I understood that, and everybody understood that. But I wasn't sure what was going on, because I just went to pee, and I thought all the buses behind us was gonna pass us, and the only bus that's gonna wait for us was my bus. So I was like, the military guys come up to me, and I was like, they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just went to the bathroom. And then they started speaking in something like, ha ha ha. And I was like, ha ha ha. I don't know what they were laughing about. I was like, they're like, you good, right? You good? I was like, yeah, I'm great actually. And then my local guy comes back. He's just like running around. He's like, Jody, are you okay? I was like, yeah, did you not tell them I went to the bathroom? He's like, I don't know. They just got out of the van and they just kept coming up. So yes, I got escorted by the military officer from the bathroom break to the bus to make sure I was safe. And
nice.
It was so crazy, so crazy. I don't know what the hell was going on. And I will never forget Sahara Desert, because that's where I peed in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, all the 300 passengers are like looking at you and say, that girl needed to pee right now.
Yeah, thank God there was that big rock. I mean, I'm just grateful they didn't see me pee. Like I literally went, and I think that was the issue, because I went so far off the track, because they stopped in the middle of nowhere, and I was trying to find a spot where I can hide and pee comfortably. I mean, I can't pee when people are looking at me.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the snakes and stuff.
So yeah, so that was one of the fun and one of the coolest stories I have. I think it was freaking crazy that it happened to me, and I was like, it was my first year of traveling too, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? And it's
now since you are professional, you bring your own party.
Now I plan. Okay, I don't drink coffee on a long bus ride. I make sure there's a bathroom in my bus. So I've learned my lesson. But I think Egypt is so cool. I would love to go back again. I have some crazy stories with Egypt, and that one was my favorite, because I've never it was just insane. Just peeing and looking at everybody stopping, like all the military vans and the tank and everything had just stopped just because of you. And like, it feels so surreal too, because you never expect that to happen to your life. You never like, expect to come out of your bathroom break waiting for like military people, trying to like grab you or something. I'm like, what
now,
am I gonna do
now,
with
now
this?
you feel what the royalty feels like. Probably the pharaohs and the queens of those
No,
times.
I honestly thought that I honestly thought I got into trouble or something was happening because, I mean, we were going through a very unsafe road.
Mhm.
It was made clear to us from the beginning that during the road that leads to Abu Simbel Temple, there's a lot of local looters out there, and there has been an exchange of violence before that they had shot a couple of tourists around 1990, I think, or 1991. So after that, the tourism kind of stopped going to that temple. So we were made aware. Everybody was made aware that the road was not safe. That's why we had escort, like police escorting us through to the temple. So obviously in your mind, it's like, what the hell happened? Like you were scared. I mean, I was just trying to pee. So I mean, yeah. So
Oh my God, your tail.
pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, but
What?
Egypt is Egypt. It's lovely.
Yeah,
I would
you make. I
go back
mean,
again.
you do make a lot of memories of traveling all around the world. For all of those 47 countries, which country did you feel like the best that you've ever traveled?
No, see,
Country?
that's not. It's like
Ah,
asking your.
you're like
No,
I know
that's
I'm
not a right
asking you
question to
like,
ask. I'm
what's
sorry,
your
because it's
favorite
like
child or
asking you which
something?
finger you like out of your hand. Like seriously, I need all my fingers, like the thumb, the pinky. So I cannot tell you which country is my favorite. I think every country has its own charm, and every country I went to has my own story. So it's like if I pick only one, that means that other experiences were not as special. So all the
At
experience
least
I have
for
in all the
okay,
countries
tell
are
me. At
special.
least for you, it something. Tell me a place that actually made you feel like now I want to be a traveler after visiting that place. Probably in early
Mm,
days.
I mean, obviously, um, my first travel was in London, and then London and Paris was so much fun.
Okay,
So
just tell me, like, for compared to for our civilization of Nepalese civilization and American civilization, which country was the most different? The way their how do you say their lifestyle worked
um,
from your experience?
I think the South Africa, it was
Oh,
very different. Their lifestyle is very different. Obviously, Egypt, um, because their culture is very
it's
different.
South
And
Africa. Which country in South Africa?
South Africa, country in whole,
Oh, South. I was thinking about continent. South
not the African country, the South
Africa. South
Africa
Africa, of
country in the
course.
whole.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, South Africa was very different. Just the culture and the people. Um, Egypt, very, very different.
Mhm.
It's just amazing how Egypt is so different than its history. Like their history is so like modern and civilized. I mean, I'm not saying Egypt is not civilized, but like the society itself was so big. If you look at the Egyptian history, like if you
Uh-huh.
go to the Egyptian museum, it's mind blowing. Like mind blowing how these people came up with all this technology at that time.
Mhm.
And it's so sad to see the country right now, torn between civil war. Um, it was very different. Being catcalled by men. Men were offering me camels to get married to me.
Oh,
They're like,
oh,
how
please.
many
Oh,
camels?
there you go. You
How
had your
many camels
chance.
for you?
You had your
10?
chance.
I said, look, if you want to marry me, you better give me 100 camels. Camels are cheap in your country.
There you go.
So,
People, 100 camels.
yeah, it was very different. And
Oh my
a
God.
lot of the women a lot of women travelers I know for the fact got catcalled over there. So, I mean, before even I went there, I actually like learned how to dress. So, even it was like 102 degrees, I was wearing like full clothes.
Mhm.
I was wearing like something in
So
my head to
dress,
cover my
I
head.
guess you got
So,
to dress according to the country, what the
yes,
people
you
are.
gotta dress according. I did get catcalled, but not as much as the other tourists that were wearing shorts or wearing like tank tops. Like I wasn't. But then again, I was traveling alone, so I had to make sure that I was safe. So I kind of just ignored. Like I would just put my headphones on. I just walk. Like I would not even engage in any conversation. I wouldn't look at anyone. Like I wouldn't even look at a guys. And I wouldn't obviously go out after 6 o'clock. Actually, it's actually not even safe to go after 6 o'clock. So I stayed in my hotel before 6. I would go everywhere. So all the temples you would go before 8, because then the tourist just comes after 8. So yeah, it was just very different. And then it's such a shame though, because the market, the history of that country is so beautiful, but
Looks like you
it's
really
just
enjoyed Egypt.
I did
That-
enjoy. I mean, I'm obsessed with Egyptian history. I have read all the conspiracy theories of the pyramid, and I just love the whole. I don't know, like
yeah,
the pharaohs and the
yeah,
stories
I
and
used to read a lot of those as well, but mostly
yeah.
I've gone through like a virtual museums, like you can just go through internet. That's the way I travel. It just through
No,
the
you must go.
computer.
It's very interesting, and actually even learn how to read hieroglyphics.
I
So it was pretty cool, the hieroglyphics.
uh,
There, like the local guide in the National Museum, she showed us how to read hieroglyphics, like what a cartouche was. It's so cool. I don't know. I mean, it was
did you
awesome.
find any culture like even in Egypt or any other countries that you felt familiar like to our own Nepalese or American culture? Anything?
Nepalese culture, I would say Spain.
Spain.
Not just because there were siestas. I know that in Nepal we eat and we take a nap. So I guess I was pretty laid back, and they're very family oriented.
Mhm.
I mean, just like Nepalese people. US, I mean, I mean, I don't know what a US culture is. Like,
Yeah,
how would you define a US
I guess it's
culture?
a
Like,
mixture, but like your regular way is like, oh wait, they do this in here. That feels like oddly familiar to what we have in say Nepal. Because I remember my sister went to Honduras, and she said like people used to sell flowers in docos kind of thing. So that was like, hey, and they looked really familiar to us too. So Honduras was like, okay, maybe Nepal has a lot of few things really in common with that kind of country.
I don't know. I don't know about that though. Like, I mean, there were local markets everywhere,
Mhm.
but I never felt like, oh wow, it feels like
Yeah,
Nepal because
I guess there's every country. It's like super different is good, like because you got to.
yeah, it is very different. It's very different. Although I did find that Lisboa was very, very similar to San Francisco because I lived in San Francisco,
Mhm.
and the whole structure, the way they're located, like the slopes, the bridges. I literally felt like I was in San Francisco for some period of time when I was in Lisboa,
Mm.
but I never felt like familiarity or a similarity with Nepal though.
Okay.
Although in Switzerland, when I went there, the mountains did remind me of Nepal, but other than that, not much.
Do you have like a traveling plan? As you said, like you plan out, but like basically for passports and visas, like what do you do? Like there's so many countries. How do you even plan out all of
So I know in Europe, like now I think UK is out of the Schengen
the Brexit?
visa thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I went to Europe, I had a Schengen visa, so I mean, so I didn't have any issues over there. Egypt, you can get a visa as soon as you land over there. So if
It's
you
like
land
similar
in
to Nepal,
Egypt,
like for
yeah,
tourists.
like in Nepal, so you go and then they just give you a visa like that. I think it's the in Vietnam you have to apply for like an online visa,
Mhm.
like 2 weeks ahead. So I did that for Vietnam. Cambodia, the same thing. I landed and they gave me the visa.
Yeah.
Brazil, you have to apply for visa
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Like
you
for
have to go
you,
to the passport center.
yeah, for you, like, was there any like, for let's say if anybody is like a new travelers or somebody who's willing wanted to travel, would you suggest them like certain countries you should start with and just to be wary of like, okay, this is the once you get a little practice here, then you can travel other countries.
Yes, yes. Start with an English speaking country just because it's much faster. I would start with London, Paris, Spain, and Belgium, Switzerland.
Mhm.
Most of the people speak English over there, and there are a lot of tourists. So if you wanna like travel alone, the safer countries you can go to Portugal, very safe. Um, but mostly like Italy, more like bigger countries that are very popular, like
Yeah.
France, Italy, Spain, Greece. It's
Which
easier
country
to
like
travel.
which country would you suggest? Like something which is more like really interesting in the sense like it's hard to get there, but it's like really you gotta be there kind of country. Did it like have you experienced or
Hard to get. Okay, I'm trying to think.
for the
Mm,
specific like travel enthusiast?
you're saying like which one is like more interesting? Like you're not expecting it, but then like wow, kind of like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you
Trying
said
to
about
like
Lithuania, but the what about other countries?
um South Africa was actually really nice.
Right?
I was surprised. Johannesburg, I already was people before I went to Johannesburg, people were telling me it was so unsafe and like they're like you tourists are like big victims over there. They get robbed and blah blah blah. I went to Johannesburg city and I stayed in only the Maboneng area, which is just like this whole strip of just like
Mhm.
hostels and stuff. I felt pretty safe and I didn't really feel
Yeah, I
like
guess.
any
Yeah.
moment it was unsafe or something, but like I was blown away. It was pretty fun. I didn't expect it to be wow because I was just in Johannesburg because I was gonna go to do the safari.
Mhm.
So it was just like a stopover. I stayed there for 3 days and I was very surprised how nice it was. Like there were a lot of art galleries out there, and of course the Aphrodite Museum was very mind blowing and eye opening. And Cape Town, which I was like had a lot of expectations, was it was okay. It wasn't like okay, wow, but it
Yeah.
was like okay. But Johannesburg was pretty awesome actually.
But just talking with you, like going through all of this country, like probably a lot of questions would come arise. Is like, oh, this lady, she probably has a lot of money. I can go from this country, that country. She's just like she got money stored in a bank vault with all the golds or something. Like, okay, just tell me. Like, I know you are a workaholic. You work your ass off, and you do a lot of things to just to get. You're like really object like you're a focus oriented person, and for people who want to travel and around the world, you can do that too. But just tell me your secret of how you manage to economically, how you manage to do all of this travel as well as work and find the money for it.
I think yeah, I get that. I get that asked a lot. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, are you like rich?" Or like, "Oh, do you have like, is your mom dad have a lot of money?" And I'm like, no. Um, Secret is hard work. So I started working when I was 18, and obviously I started traveling when I was 24. So during that time, I saved up a lot of money. And I was not just working one job; I was working two jobs. I used to work as a bartender in restaurants, and then at that time I was also a makeup artist, so I kind of like had gigs where I made money. I invested some money in some investment stuff, and then eventually the investment hit off and I got some money back from there. Um, but yes, you need money to travel 100%. And traveling isn't cheap. But then again, I cut down on a lot of expenses too. Like, I don't really spend money on anything, honestly, except traveling. My expenses are very less. I don't eat outside as much. I cook at home. I don't go on smaller trips. So I know a lot of people go like, smaller, like rafting trip or like cabin trip or weekend getaway. I don't really do that. I actually kind of like save my money and I just go on a big trip. So, one of the reasons that might be also the case. And obviously, I worked a lot. Like,
You work
I
a lot.
had two jobs. I was nonstop working. I had no days off. I would work sometimes seven
just
days a
just
week.
to
I would.
let people know how busy you are. You're a good friend of mine. We've known for many years. But like just to manage this podcast, we have to cancel it almost 4 or 5 times because you were too busy. Which I'm like, lady, we gotta figure this time out. You need to take a rest. You need to meditate. You do meditate, and you do have a little really nice lifestyle. I really appreciate your lifestyle, and
Oh, thank
if only
you.
I can do what you do. You just like you make me
Oh,
look lazy. You make me look super lazy, and
no, no,
you're
it's
super
not that at
hardworking.
all.
But the what inspires you, you are like a really good inspiration to me too. Like you really inspire
Oh,
me.
thank you.
Yeah, you do inspire me so that when I look at you, you feel like oh, you got ambition, you got a goal. So to travel, I know it's for a lot of people it's a luxury to travel, and it feels like
Yes.
a vacation. But for you, it's like a goal of your life, traveling around the world. And to achieve that, you work super hard. You work a lot. You manage a business. You work in a restaurant in food and beverage industry, and you work super hard, save that money, and invest in travel. And you just put that in your life experience. You don't do that I'm in travel and just show off. You just go on and on and on and get your life experience, and that's why like from outside it's just like a person traveling, but inside you, I think you have gained so much more compared to rather.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think when I was younger, there were days when I was like, oh my God, like all my friends are going out, all my friends are doing this, all my friends are going on vacation. And I did feel like kind of left out because I felt like I worked a lot. But I was investing on a business that time and I needed a certain amount of money. And to make that money, I had to work. So I was very young. And I think that's only one decision I made probably good in my life. Is when I was young, I started out young and I started just working and making money. And I always wanted to climb, I mean, like if I was starting somewhere, I always wanted to be like getting in the top of the position over there. So it requires investment, it requires effort. And yeah, a lot of people ask me that, oh, how do you manage, how is this money? I mean, you got to learn how to manage your money, right? Number one, I mean, if you can't manage your money, you can't travel. I'm sorry, because unless you have a lot of money stored in, you need to learn how to manage your money. You need to know your budget. You need to know like how to save your money, and you need to know where to store your money, where to invest your money. When I was younger, I would spend so much money buying like luxury items like handbags, watches. And I know for the fact that most of the people spend a lot of money buying expensive stuff. Like I know my girlfriends, they buy luxury handbags. Louis Vuitton costs almost a $900. They buy expensive watches, sunglasses. They want nicer car, and they're like, oh, I can't save money. I mean, you can't save money because your priorities are different, right? So I don't buy anything expensive. I always drove a used car. It didn't bother me that I was driving a used car. It didn't bother me that I was not wearing enough gold or had expensive stuff. Because for me, it was not about the things. I wanted to experience more than what I owned. And I think that's one of the lessons that I learned from traveling is that um, you are not who you are by your things. You are who you are by the experiences you live. So I don't really spend money on anything expensive. I don't have anything expensive. So I'm not scared. I'm not scared that I'm going to lose anything because I don't have anything expensive. Like what are they going to take from me? And even when I'm traveling, I see all these tourist people, and that's like, see, one of the reasons they get robbed or they get like the pickpocket is attacked. And I know so many stories. Like when I go to hostels, I see like these guys wearing Beats headphone or wearing like a very expensive watch and bag, and I'm like, of course they're gonna be getting targeted for like this the thieves, obviously because you're wearing something expensive, something of value. Like I freaking go out with like a $20 bag, like what are they going to take away from me? The $20 bag? I'm not scared of it, so I don't have the fear that I'm going to lose things.
Mhm.
So it doesn't bother me when I'm like in a difficult situation. I'm like, okay, what is it going to take away from me?
Yeah,
There's nothing expensive I own. So yeah, so a lot of people who ask me, hey, how do you manage to like travel with, do you have a lot of money? And I look at them, I'm like, well, what car are you driving? Oh, Mercedes? Yeah, well, if you would have drove something cheaper, you would have been able to travel. So it's just funny to me that people will just randomly say, oh, like, oh, how do you manage to travel? Oh, like, how are you getting all this money from? What do you do? And I'm like, I work just like you, but my priorities are different than you. So maybe you're spending money on expensive things or drinking expensive liquors. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what people spend
hey,
money on,
you
buying
make them
gadgets that they
you
don't
make
need.
them
So
drink this expensive liquor. You're a bartender too.
um,
Yeah.
but I don't. I think you should splurge on yourself. But if you want to travel, you definitely, I mean, need some kind of money. I mean, and then again, it's also about planning, like you said. Like when I travel, I travel off seasons.
Mhm.
So that means I'm not going when there's a very high volume. Like summers, I don't really go to Europe in summer. I try to avoid it as much as possible, unless like I'm already there, because it is so expensive to travel to Europe in summer.
Mm.
So I always go off season. So when I went to Africa, it was off season. So my flight price was already half, my accommodations was already half. So I already saved my money there. Um, then I try to stay in hostels. I try to stay in quirky places. Like I do a lot. I camped in Greece. I camped in Lithuania. So I try to like do different kind of accommodations. And maybe out of the whole trip, I'll stay in one luxurious hotel to like hotel to kind of like rejuvenate myself. But like, to be honest with what, when are you really gonna go back and stay in the hotel, like to sleep, to wake up, and to take shower? I mean, if you're gonna just spend your time in a hotel in a foreign country, then I'm sorry, you're missing out on the whole experience, you know. So for me, like, I stay in hostels, I stay in cheaper accommodations, so I can kind of get more value of my money. And when I'm staying in hostels, I cook my own food. I don't really eat outside all the time. I remember like the last trip I went in Scandinavian countries, which are extremely expensive, and I would say that was one of those countries that I was like, oh my god, like Denmark, Sweden. Like Sweden was okay, Norway was expensive, but Denmark was so expensive. I was like, the meal would cost me $22 for just one meal. So I was
That's
like,
excellent.
dude, it's intense. And I was like, you know, I was staying in a hostel. I cooked in the hostel, so I saved money here and there. You know, so yes, traveling can be, it is expensive, but then again, can you do it in a cheaper way? Yes, you can. So
Okay.
it's not impossible. It is possible, but you just gotta pre-plan yourself, and you need to have a budget, and you need to go off season when there's not a lot of tourists traveling
Yeah, this is
at
like a
that country.
major life hack for the travelers and a budget
Yes.
hack for the economy travelers. Because yes, like if you want to if you want to start traveling, or people who all are already traveling and want to save up money, you got to figure out like when it's less expensive, which places are good, which is easier to travel, and try to avoid being in difficult situation and pee where
Yes.
pee prehand.
Yes. And if you really want to travel, always start with like cheaper countries also. So like if you have a very light, like a low budget, go to Asian countries, because Asian countries are much cheaper than European countries. You know, I mean, it might not be the most safest option, but it is cheaper. And if you plan it correctly, you get a guide. Or you can also do, nowadays they have like the travel groups. You know, you can do like a lot of like travel groups. You can just join them, you can just pay the amount, and they take you everywhere. Yeah, it kind of sucks that you have to be in someone else's schedule, but then again, it takes you the whole hassle of planning everything,
Mhm.
knowing not know where to sleep. So yeah, I would just book up with like a travel groups or any travel companies that they have, and just join them if you're first time travelers, just to have that experience of how to do it correctly. So
Yeah,
that helps too.
just talking with you, I'm like, I'm gonna pack up my bag and I'm heading to
Let's just go.
Europe in off season. I don't know if this is like the worst off season, so maybe I'm traveling now.
Let's just go. Yeah, I'm down with you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get my map.
definitely. So it's been like really eye opening in that sense of like how much travel, how much world there is to explore and experience
Yes.
life and culture. Yeah, I'm really glad you were able to do that, and your experience kind of brings up like I'm getting a second hand experience out of you from traveling all the world in my, at least from all of your stories. And this is what the fun part about talking with you is, like we get to hear such an interesting story when you made the whole 300 people park in a
Oh
Sahara
my God.
desert and
Sometimes
tank stop.
it blows my mind too. Like sometimes I'll be like really like sitting in my home, and then I'll be looking at like my old travel stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe I did that. You know, like honestly, sometimes I really don't believe I do that. Like I pinch myself every time I go somewhere. I'm like, am I really here? Am I really doing this?
Yeah, you
Like
probably
it blows my mind too.
you
Trust
you,
me.
you can't probably remember all of those, but hopefully like next time we do have a podcast, and I would love to have you again for the next podcast. I would love to get more of your interesting stories
Yes.
and try to make you remember all of the stuff you have still hidden out there. All of the
I know it's so many, you know,
you
it's
probably
like
have
I
a
can't
lot.
really like put it in an hour conversation. It's so
Yeah.
many, and I'm trying to remember all of them. But like I'm speaking with you right now, and I'm like, okay, somehow I can't remember all of them. But yeah, it was awesome. And all I want to say is, if you want to travel, and if you're trying to travel, don't think about it. Just do it. Plan it correctly, and especially for all the females out there that is so nervous about traveling alone, do not be nervous. It's not scary as people portray it.
Yeah, just
Just be
pre-plan
smart.
stuff, right? You got to be
Yeah, I
smart
think
with
for
pre-plan.
females is much harder, because I think there's still like that, you know, the situation where like, oh my god, like I can't believe you're traveling alone, like I would be so scared. I'm like, well, I'm scared too, but isn't that's the whole process of being human, is like you're fighting your fear, right? Like, I mean, you can't do anything if you just are scared. You can only grow if you fight your fear. So I would tell all the girls out there, like, don't be scared, pack your bag and leave, and just make sure you're smart, you're be making smart decisions, and you are using your intuition. And we all know when we feel unsafe, like that's just your human biology is kind of like programmed in a way. When you're in an unsafe situation, somehow, like weirdly, I know for the fact that I know when I'm in a very, very unsafe situation, I somehow know. And it's just, you just have to listen to yourself, and you have to make smart decisions. When you're traveling alone, you have to watch out for yourself, because nobody's watching out for you. When you go out, you just make sure that you're not going out late at night, or you're not going to a country where it's unsafe at night. So simple things, like little simple things you do back this in your hometown, or where you're living right now too, like how you're being safe right now. If you just follow the same protocol, you should be fine anywhere around the world, trust me.
Okay. Yeah. Like hopefully, like everybody travel, take your measures. Don't be afraid to travel. And that's a big advice to me. So I'm probably getting out of my home.
Yes,
From
don't
all
get
the,
don't be scared to travel, Abbas.
yeah,
Okay,
yes,
you
like
gotta go out.
few miles outside, few miles outside. I'm like, I don't know if I'm scared to take more groceries nowadays with all everything happening. But yes, Jyotika, it was really, really nice. It is really nice to talk with you after such a long time. And hopefully our audience who listens to this podcast got a lot of experience, a lot of information for the traveling. And this kind of informations are really important for a lot of people who want to get started on something. And whatever you're traveling, your dream or achievement is till now, and how many countries you would want to travel more. I really hope like a safe journey, and really I would love to get to hear your 100th country that you visit.
I hope I live long to do the
Oh,
100
oh, you
country, right?
better, you better. But it
That'd
was
be
really
awesome.
it was really fun talking with you.
Thank you, Abbas, for having me in the show. I finally made it. I'm so sorry for like canceling all those times, but it was really fun being, and I really wish you all the success with your podcast. And I would tell all the viewers to keep listening, and he's gonna have a lot of new interesting things coming up, hopefully.
Yeah, like okay. For people, she has an Instagram account with all of the places she has visited. I'll put the information description below, and also please do subscribe to our channel and follow me on social media too.